everyone. Welcome to Wool Spinning. My name is Rachel. I can be found everywhere as well for Pearls. And today is Saturday, October 24th. It is a week to Halloween, which is really fun. And I just want to welcome you all to this place. And I want you to know that you are welcome in this place. If you are a new viewer to the show, thank you so much for checking it out. I know that we had some new subscribers over the last couple of weeks, and I just want to welcome you here. If you are a returning viewer, thank you so much for continuing to check out the show and for being here week in, week out. I really appreciate it. And to patrons of the show, welcome. And thank you so much for your chitter chatter in the live chat already. I was looking at it and I was like, I don't know if I can even catch up. It's already 25 after 8. How am I going to read all of this? So I just want to welcome you all and thank you so much for being here. In today's show, we actually have a packed show. So let me look at the show notes because, you know, keeping us on track and on the straight and narrow is always very challenging. I just wanted to mention a couple of things in our housekeeping, but for more, please check out the show notes, patreon.com/WelfordPearls, and it will be episode 173. If you're wondering about clicking on some of the links and stuff that I mentioned for books, newsletter, some of our alongs that we're working on in the community right now, which I'll be sharing with you later in the show. And yeah, if there's anything else that you're wondering about, please don't hesitate to comment below and I can help you out. So we are experiencing some unseasonably cold weather here. I feel like November and October are always like really cold, or November anyways is always really cold. But my husband and I were joking last night because we have an Arctic weather front thing coming in from the Arctic, and then we have something coming in off the Pacific, and we were joking that they battled and they both won so that they could make the humans miserable. So we were kind of laughing to ourselves because it was heavy rain all day yesterday, and me and my best friend took the kids out for a long walk local to me at a place called Fort Langley, and we go there all the time, like at least a few times a month, if not every week. The kids had a pro D yesterday, so they played in the rain and they jumped in the puddles and they went down all the slides because they were wearing all their rain gear, and they just had an absolute blast. We took them for a hot chocolate and a cookie after, and they slept. It was amazing. So we had a movie night last night and watched a really cheesy 1990s Halloween movie off of Disney Plus last night. Mike was not impressed. He was like, this is dumb. But it was nice for the kids. We wound down and then they had a really good sleep. So we had a really nice day yesterday. And after a couple of really crazy busy shifts at work and heartbreaking cases, it was nice to have a really lovely end to the week. So we are definitely into sweater weather here. I was decked out in my hands, in my hand spun hand knits yesterday. So I was wearing my Solaris yesterday, which I can link later. If you could, actually, I'll just go to Ravelry. I was wearing my Solaris yesterday I actually pulled out my parka yesterday because it's waterproof, and we were standing around a lot with the kids, and so I just thought, you know what, it's better to be warm than sorry. So I pulled out and I mean, my parka is not like what we would have had when we lived up north, but it's pretty close. It goes to -30 and it's nice and cozy and it's waterproof. So not like it is in the north, but you know, still cold, you know, good to wear. And so I was wearing my Solaris yesterday, and I just linked that in the live chat for those who are interested. And then I also was wearing my shawl that I spun and knit out of yarn. It was a combo spin that I had done with some elfin wool fiber from Tina of Elfin Wool. She's based in Germany. Can't find, and it was a pattern that the Brookdale shawl. Can't find it in my projects for some reason, because I know that it's here. Let me just spend a second and see if I can find it, because it's one of my favorite shawls. It's a triangular shawl that's knit from the side and you build it out. And oh, here it is, the Brookdale shawl, and it was designed by my friend Chrissy of Snappy Stitches, and so that was one of her patterns, and that was out of a hand spun combo spin that I did. And the yarn, because I kind of default spun it, and so it came out quite a bit thicker than I was hoping for. I was hoping for a fingering, and it came out sort of more of it was more of a worsted, and I didn't have really great yardage. So it came out at 950 yards per pound. I'm just looking it up. And I wrote it down here that it was a sport weight, but I think given how I measure my yarns now and how I classify my yarns now, I would say that it's more of a worsted weight. And that shawl was perfect because it used up, I could knit it until I was done. I used up every inch of yarn. And it's a really lovely pattern by my friend Chrissy. So that's the Brookdale shawl by Chrissy Graham. And I linked my project in the live chat, but here is the shawl itself. So today I am actually wearing a cardigan that I hacked together. So it's two patterns. I don't wear this cardigan as much as I wish that I did, and I think part of it is I just don't think about grabbing it. So this, I called this my hand spun mammoth. That's what I called this sweater. This was some roving that I had bought from my friend Lynn Anderson of West Coast Color, and she had it in a big container, in a big bag, and she sells by the weight. So you just pick out what you want, and she measures it off for you. So I'll stand up so that you can see. But this was the featherweight cardigan. So Hannah Fettig. And then I superimposed over it the lace pattern from a cardigan called Vermont. And so I will link my project page in the live chat. You guys can have a look at that. Both of the patterns are linked there, the featherweight and the Vermont. And so what I did was I superimposed the Vermont lace pattern into the back panel of the featherweight. And to be honest with you, the only thing I used for the featherweight was the cast on. And then from there, I just did it myself. And this is actually quite a long cardigan. I don't know if you can see, it just keeps on going. Let's see if I can back up here. It goes all the way down over my bum. I can't remember exactly how long the body was, but I think it was like 25-inch long body. And then because of how the lace works, it kind of created like a natural swoop at the back, which is really fun. So that is what I'm wearing. Oh, and this is something I got in Fort Langley about 10 years ago. The shop is long gone, but I love these colors. And I pull this out. I only wear this at the end of October every year. And it's just got these gorgeous, I think it's sort of a bit, yeah, it's my Halloween shawl that I wear every year. And this outfit I tend to live in for the last week of October. It's my kind of Halloween-y outfit. So yeah, long cardigans like that, Jennifer, I wish I thought of it more and grabbed it more, because my parka comes down below my knees, and something like this isn't too long for my jacket. But when you're wearing shorter coats, you can't really, I don't really like to put a long cardigan underneath, and it rains so much here that I do need often a rain jacket on. So anyhow, that is, that's kind of what's been going on this week. So other than some crazy shifts at work and yeah, just having a lot of fun outside when it's nice. It's absolutely beautiful, sunny out today. And we are actually planning on doing some pumpkin carving this afternoon. We don't often do it. It's not my favorite thing to do, but because Halloween here isn't going to be kind of the norm, we thought we would do that with the kids this afternoon. So yeah. Oh, that's so funny, Rebecca. You actually remember reading that blog post. So I knit this sweater actually when we were away. Nora was a baby. She was still a newborn. I think she was maybe a year old, but that's being generous. I think she was walking, so she must have been just over a year, maybe 14, 15 months. And I knit it on our trip that we did that year. It was a week. We did lake country. It was just sitting on the beach at the lake, bringing out the paddleboard. Super quiet, and yeah, it was one of those sort of happy spins and happy sweaters. The yarn I spun is a 2-ply. I did it long draw on my sidekick when I still have my sidekick. There was tons of neps and noils in the fiber, and Lynn was actually really disappointed with this fiber, and she doesn't carry it anymore. It's Falkland. But the thing is, for this kind of a sweater with this kind of texture, it actually kind of works. And if I wore it more, a lot of that would work its way out, and I could just shave it and it would actually look quite lovely. So I just need to I need to remember it and wear it because it's still one of my favorite things that I've ever made. I forget. I know that's terrible, but I forget about stuff, and I yeah, you know, you keep making and you think about the stuff that you've made recently and then you sort of forget to go back. Oh, thank you, Rebecca. I stalk read all your older blog posts. I love that. You know, I was thinking about it this week. I was like, I really need to get back to doing more blogging. I really love blogging. It's something I've always come back to, and I need to start doing it a bit more. So for housekeeping, really, really quickly, we have been chatting in the Queries and Explorations group about the idea of a natural shades along. So other people have done this in the past, but basically what it is an opportunity to sort of look in our stashes and find all that natural colored fiber. So whether it's, you know, different colors of cotton or different colors of fleece or different colors of roving that's already been processed, whatever's in your stash that's a natural shade, we want to work on you know, something that's a natural shade along. So going from the fiber to the yarn to the finished project. So that is linked in the show notes for you. And if you are not a person that uses Ravelry, either anymore or never have, we are going to use the hashtag sweater spin on the Slack channel. So if you're a patron of the show and you have access to the Slack channel, we're going to use the hashtag sweater spin, and that's for the natural shades along. And then our tin can knits along is still ongoing. We'll talk about it later in the show, but that is also under the hashtag sweater spin. It's just because most people choose to do sweaters for this stuff, it just gets to be too many different places if we start a whole bunch of separate hashtags. So yeah, and sometimes this stuff overlaps. Somebody might want to do the strange brew, where you make your own yoke and design your own yoke, and you might want to do it all in natural shades. So some ideas of overlap. It's just an opportunity to do some stuff together, keep each other excited, and a place to ask questions and motivate and spend that time together. So yeah, Carol's still trying to get her head around Ravelry. You know, spending some time on Ravelry really helps to just sort of get yourself organized on there. But yeah, it takes some time to get used to. The opportunity for the natural shades along is to do some color work. Elizabeth's asking if it should be color work. It's totally up to you. It's just an opportunity to work in natural shades. So you could do a sweater like this one, where it's just the natural shade of the fiber, or you could do multiple. I'm planning on doing multiple. I have a specific sweater and a specific project in mind that I'm thinking of. So as I start to work on that, I will share more with you guys. I have talked a little bit about it in my post on Ravelry. So if you are on Ravelry, you can look at it there. It's so good to see everybody in the chat today. I'm sorry that I didn't go back and say hello to everybody. I just feel like there's so many people here today, and it's just wonderful to have you here. Thank you so much. So I'm going to spend 30 seconds getting caught up while you guys watch the intro. So I thought we would start off today with my karma. So this is some spinning that I did this week. And because the kids were off of school yesterday, I actually had an opportunity to finish up spinning the first bobbin for this. So this is some 50-50 yak and merino that I bought from my friend Lynn. And I was feeling very lush because... Why is there a branch in your bag in the intro? I'm not sure. I have to go back. Oh, the branch. Yes, it's in my waist. I was waiting for somebody to ask me about that. I wondered if somebody would even notice that. So that's from when I am spindle spinning. So if you missed it later, you can go back and rewatch the intro. And there's a big thing of there's a big branch of from a maple tree that the kids had picked up, and that evening they were absolutely adamant that we needed to bring it home because it was so beautiful. It was perfectly dried. It was basically flat, and it was still damp enough that I could completely flatten it. and finish drying it. So it is actually on our mantle. And it just so happened that that evening, Mike caught me on camera spindling. I didn't know that he caught me. And he showed me the video later. And when I was redoing the intro, that's when I slotted it in. But that branch is something that the kids wanted me to bring home. We're always collecting things, branches, rocks, pine cones, you name it. It's all over our house. So this is some 50/50 yak and merino that I'm spinning here. This is called Karma. And I was telling you guys that I had found 3 more hanks of this in my stash the other week. And that with the 3 that I had bought from Lynn, I was thinking that I would put them together and do a combo so that I would have a total, because these are each 50 grams. So I would have a total of 300 grams of spun yarn when I finished, if I did that. And so what I did was I took the first 3 hanks and got them all ready for spinning. Sorry, the light is going to reflect the bag. Divided it down into a whole bunch of nests so that they look like this. And I'm going to spin each to a bobbin, because 50 grams fits on all of my bobbins for all of my wheels. So this week, even though I felt like I didn't really have any time this week, I don't know why, but this week just went like that. And I didn't feel stressed or pressured, but I definitely was like, it's Tuesday already. And then all of a sudden it's like, it's Wednesday. What? It's Friday? Like, I don't know where this week went. I have no idea. So I finished the first hank. So this is me. So I applied this last night while we were watching our movie, because I had finished spinning the singles for the from the first of the 3 that I found. Does that make sense? And I thought, you know what? Why wait? I'm just going to apply these up and keep my bobbins moving and keep my bobbins free, basically. And I also got some video this week of me spinning this. So I took this video for the wool circle, which was yesterday morning. It's episode, was it 20? Does anybody remember? Was it 23, 25? Anyways, it's called A Myriad of Spins. That's the name of it. For those who missed yesterday's wool circle, for those who subscribed to that content, we did a deep dive into this fiber and spinning this fiber yesterday morning. So this is some of the video. As you can see, the merino is very short stapled and the yak is very short stapled. The yak is also a dark brown. So when you put the acid dyes on, no matter what colors you use and no matter how bright the colors are, the finished yarn is going to come out moody and dark and very deeply shaded, no matter what you do from a dyeing perspective. So that dark brown is going to come through and create that sort of dark moodiness, which is just so beautiful. So spinning this, I did end up doing a continuous backward, and I just kept my draft very, very short due to the short stapled nature of this fiber. And I was going for a light sport, heavy fingering. I sort of have in the back of my mind, oh, thank you, Eve. It was episode 28 yesterday morning. In the back of my mind, I sort of have 3.25, 3.5 millimeter needles in the back of my mind for knitting, because I would like to, we've been talking about doing this natural shades along, but we were also talking about maybe doing a color work along. Kelly G Knits has some awesome color work patterns. She's actually in the chat today. And we were talking about some of the Marie Wallen patterns that are out there. And we were sort of thinking about maybe doing like a color work along. So what I was thinking was, there's a pattern by Marie Wallen that is a solid background that's kind of an oatmeal-y color. And I just realized I left my CVM over there on my cart. And it's the background color is sort of like this color, and then the color work is a very it's a tonal sort of slightly variegated sort of a yarn that's quite a lot like this. And so the sweater, the main sweater, it's a longer tunic style sweater, and so the main color is this sort of oatmeal-y background color, and then there's the tonal sort of color work that goes through it. So as I was looking at it and as I was thinking about it, I was sort of thinking maybe I shouldn't 3-ply my CVM spin, which is this one that I've been doing long draw on the Lendrum behind me. Maybe I should stop where I am and spin up a little bit more and do a 2-ply and compare that to the Karma yarn for sort of matching gauges, and do that sweater and plan that a little bit more rather than just spinning and sort of come what may. So this is the finished Karma yarn. It has not been washed. It's freshly plied and it's freshly off of the skein winder. So I am going to save a little bit of this to compare against what it looks like when it is washed, because I think it's going to really bloom, and I think it's going to really fill in those spaces. Right now it looks sort of flat, but I think because of the merino, it's going to really, you know, come up to life and really sort of bloom up. So that is the look of the yarn with those two different colorways from Lynn plied together. And you can see how, because they're from the same dyer, they go together just absolutely beautifully. They really work well together, because when you look at the two colorways, even though this one is more green, it still has those hits of reddy purple in there, and that sort of orange is in there. This one's more green, and then the other one has that same green in it. You can see it right there. See how that matches? This is why combo spins from one dyer work really well, because it's the same quality of color. And there's that green that's in there, and that gray purple that's in there. It's in all of these. So even though there's the blue in this one and more of the lime green in this one, it evens itself out, and your result is this beautiful kind of forest quality. To me, it looks like a forest. It actually looks like where we were at Tunquoy, just outside of Kamloops, British Columbia, a few weeks ago, back in September. You know, the lake and the green, and then the brown and the sort of limey green from sort of the desert long grasses that you get in that area of our province. So yeah, so I'll have a total, this is 400 yards. When I was scanning it off, it ended up being like 410 yards or something. I will lose some yardage when I go to wash and finish it, so I will figure out my grist. This is 100 grams, because each of these is 50 grams, and I plied them together. So 100 grams of fiber, about 420 yards pre-wash. I should hold it over here because of the background, there's nothing behind here. Pre-wash, about 420 yards. So I'll get this washed. I'll cut off some of it to have some from the pre-washing, pre-finishing. And then we'll go from there. And I will see if I have enough yardage for that sweater, or maybe something similar. I'm not really attached to that sweater specifically. I was also thinking about looking through some of my books upstairs. There's a sweater actually in one of my books upstairs that I have wanted to knit for probably 12 years, and I've never made the time to do it. And I was actually thinking that if I didn't use this CVM for that, what I was just talking about, this 3-ply is actually the perfect gauge for that sweater. And yeah, I was thinking about that. It's an older pattern, but it was won by, what was his name? Martin Story. It's an old Martin Story pattern, all cabled pullover. I think it's called the vintage pullover. It's all cabled in a tweed. Anyways, I'm just trying to remember patterns that I've wanted to knit in the past that I have in my possession that I've never made the time for. So I'm still working away on my CVM spin. Nothing kind of more to tell you about my CVM. I haven't made any progress whatsoever because I did kind of get a bit waylaid with all of this other stuff. So there's that. So let's go to which camera? There it is. Okay, so I haven't actually made any progress on my Tunic cardigan. I haven't worked on it at all. This is the one out of my Patagonia yarns. Organic merino from Juniper Moon. I haven't made any progress on this because I've been working on something else that has completely taken my attention, and it's been a really nice snack knit. So I'll talk about that in a minute. But I did get last week, because I didn't talk about this in last week's show, last week I did actually get a full another pattern repeat done. The pattern repeats are 20 rows long. So when I sit down to work on it, I'm trying to make time to do all 20 rows before I go on to, like, before I put it down basically. So I'm really trying to do that whole thing. So that is my tunic. And actually, unfortunately, I'm in the middle of a row right now, but I'll just hold it up on the smaller camera for just a sec to give you an idea of what it looks like. So that is the tunic cardigan. It was in the 25-year anniversary Vogue of Vogue knitting. It's something I've wanted to knit for years, never made any time for. Now I am. So that is that. And actually, I'm going to take that to work with me this week, just to make it a priority, because I really want it. Like I want the cardigan. It's a vest, so there's no sleeves, which is nice. No sleeve island, and it's going to be quite long. So like this cardigan, it's going to go down below my bum, sort of down below that sort of lower back thigh area, which I don't mind doing the extra knitting for the length, because of course I don't have any sleeves to have to do. And there was something else I was going to say about it as I move in these other yarns and tell you about this really fun project that has completely taken my attention. There was something I was going to say about that other project and now I'm forgetting. Maybe it'll come to me, maybe it won't. It is gone. What I was going to say is gone. Thank you for your kind comments about that Karma yarn. Yeah, it's one of my favorites that I've ever made. So would it matter that one is 2-ply and one is 3-ply? Does your yarn... Oh, so the reason for making the CVM a 2-ply versus leaving it as a 3-ply is because the 3-ply is it's just too thick. It's a DK, and the Karma is going to come out as a sport, a light sport. So I just want them to match in heaviness. It's not really structure in this situation. The Karma is, oh, I buried it under a bunch of stuff. The Karma is it's just a different gauge. And if I do a 2-ply for the CVM, I think it'll match more closely in knitting gauge. Yeah, the Karma is amazing, Charlotte. I know that Lynn did have some on her website. I don't know if she still has some, but if you have an opportunity to get some, jump at it. It's beautiful. So this is something, and Kelly, I'm hoping that you're there and that you can help me out with the name. This is actually a test knit, and I don't do test knits very often anymore, so it really takes a lot for me to do a test knit nowadays. But I am stealing from Peter to pay Paul, because this is that on the round BFL that I was going to use for the Donegal shawl with the 2-ply Shetland. And I haven't ripped that out, but I also haven't worked on it since, because taking on another big garment like that, a big shawl like that, as I was working on it, I was like, this just feels a bit too overwhelming right now. I'm just going to put this aside and decide in a couple of weeks after this is done whether I still want to knit that or not. So I have so much yardage of this yarn. This was on the round BFL. It's a lace 2-ply that I spun a number of years ago. I've linked it in the show notes, but I'm not sure. Oh, maybe I haven't. Oh, yes, I did. I didn't link the actual yarn though. I don't remember when I spun this. I'll see if I can just really quickly look. It's one of my favorite yarns that I've ever spun, and I haven't knit with it, which really bums me out, because this is kind of what happens with all of our yarns, hand spun and otherwise. They sort of get buried in our stashes, and we end up not using them right away, and it's really a bummer, because you know, we're so excited about this stuff when it's done, and then we're sort of on to the next project, and we don't really celebrate the yarn and work with it right away. So I spun this in June and early July of 2015. I actually finished it on my mom and Katrina's birthday. My mom and Katrina have the same birthday, if you can believe it. So I grabbed some Knit Picks palette out of my stash. This is 37 grams of just white Knit Picks palette. It's from Ancient Stash. I probably bought this in 2007, 2008. So I had 37 grams. Kelly calls for 25 grams for this toque test knit. And I can't remember, Kelly, what the pattern is called. Is it Engott? Sorry, I can't remember. If you put it in the live chat, I will say. Anyways, I'm going to lean over here a little bit so that I can just talk to this and spread this out a little bit. This is knit on very small needles. It has been a little bit of the bane of my existence a little bit because it is so fine. I'm just going to move the camera here so you guys can see me. So this has been a little bit of the bane of my existence, but if you can see that, I will refocus the camera when I find, but just look at this. It is so amazing. So amazing. Look at that. This is the bottom ribbing of the toque. It's knit on 2.25 millimeter needles. Like I said, it's the bane of my existence right now. It is so freaking slow. Excuse my language. And I keep stopping to look at the beauty of the stitches, which is so crazy. So I'm getting like nothing done. The chart is super easy to follow. The stitches are just so beautiful. And look at the movement of color in the hand spun. Isn't that incredible? So I've just upsized to 2.75 millimeter needles, which actually I can't remember what the US sizing is for that. Is that US size 2 or US size 1? US size 2. So you go from a US size 1 to a US size 2, or is it US size 0? Is it 2.25? But also, swoon, look at the back. Isn't that incredible? This is why I love color work. I don't love doing it, but I love the effect of it, so I'm willing to put up with it. So really, really, really pretty. I'm not sure that I'm going to get this done in time, but I'm excited to wear it. I am doing the adult size large, so that I am doing the larger of the two sizes so that I can wear it. I was going to do the smaller size because Nora's head, it's kind of a funny comment, but Nora's head is only ever so slightly smaller than mine. And she actually can wear a lot of my toques. They're too big for her, but they're not like that far off. And so I was thinking about doing the smaller of the two sizes and making it for her. And then I very selfishly was like, I love this yarn so much. It's only going to use a very small amount of this yarn. I'll still have tons left over to do something else with it, but I want this for me. So I'm owning it. So really, really pretty. I'm hoping by next week I'll have a little bit more progress to show and to share with you, but that's Kelly's newest pattern, Kelly G Knits on Ravelry. Really beautiful, Kelly. Now, the other thing I wanted to show you is not a cast on, actually. This is not new. This is some hand spun that I did at Knit City a number of years ago. This is SweetGeorgia BFL silk, and I can't remember exactly what the yardage is. I wrote it down because I calculated it when I wound the center pull ball a few weeks ago, but I pulled it out of my stash because I really wanted to do something with it. So I am going to do Judy Marples shawl Lochlyn, and I didn't really have anything in my stash that would go with it. So I ran into my local yarn shop on Thursday, grabbed my mask, went in there, and they had some Malabrigo sock marked down 30% off. This is a sock weight fingering. And it's this gorgeous brown color. I think it's actually called chocolate. Yeah, chocolate amargo. Chocolate amargo. I'm not exactly sure. Anyways, it's this beautiful tonal. This is a DK, the hand spun. So my plan is actually to hold the sock yarn double. And that will bring out that, I think that rich brown will bring out that gorgeous richness in the hand spun. And my friend Marilyn actually helped me to match it because I was really torn about going with a lighter yarn. Because if you put a lighter yarn with it, it completely changes the look of the hand spun. And my default is often to go to a light when I'm looking at matching color. And that's pretty, don't get me wrong, but this is so rich. So Marilyn and I both kept coming back to this. So I have enough yardage from the Malabrigo sock to hold it double. And because it's knit on 5mm needles, I think that shawl is. And this is 440 yards and I need about 220. So that'll be perfect. And I can always go back and get another skein if I need to. So that is that project pending. So I'm going to put this away and that will be my next shawl project when I'm done the toque. So that's that. Oh, welcome, Pam. Hi, Sarah. Good to see you as well. They look like Christmas trees. Yeah, you're talking about the ribbing, Jennifer, the Christmas trees as it works up. Yeah, really pretty. Is there a kid size? I'm not sure, Judy. Hopefully Kelly can answer. No kid size specifically, but the small is for about 19 inches. And actually, I can attest to looking at this adult size. I think that the smaller size, the 19-inch head, most kids that would fit. So certainly Nora, who's 7 and just an average size kid, that would certainly fit her. I haven't made any progress on my Varma. I was really hoping that I would be able to, but I just wasn't able to this week. This is old stashed yarn, again, from West Coast Color that I bought years ago. And it's this gorgeous twisted rib pattern that makes up the body, the center panel. It works its way up. It's a pullover, short sleeves. I might make mine longer. I have enough yarn, and this is the yarn here. So I have a pound of this, a total of 1,400 yards. The pattern calls for, I think, 800 or 900 yards. Let me just double check for my size. I think it calls for, maybe it's 1,100 yards of yarn. Yeah, 800 yards of yarn. I have 1,400, so I might do it with long sleeves just to use up the yarn. And it's going to be a pullover, so I may as well do longer sleeves. And I did do a major modification for those who missed the show last week. So 2 major modifications, actually. I should qualify that. So the body is knit in reverse stockinette, and it's also seamed. So you do the front panel, and then you do the back panel, and then you sew them together. And I'm doing mine in the round all together. And I also modified in the sense that the body is going to be stockinette. So I don't think that I can purl an entire sweater with my wrist, and I'm trying to save my wrist so that I can still be doing this when I'm 85 years old. So to that end, I added a little bit extra to the twisted rib at the bottom, and then I'm doing a stockinette for the body. And other than those of us in the knitting community who know the pattern, and even then I don't think that most of us would be able to identify that it's modified, nobody will know that it wasn't written that way. So this is the panel, and you just move the stitches with a cable needle. You just move the stitches with a cable needle, and it creates this really cool kind of wave, and it's all twisted. So really fun, really pretty. I'm excited about this. I just haven't had a chance to work on it. I haven't done much knitting this week. I've been really intentionally sitting down to spin, and I've been really spending, I haven't worked on my poet either, so I won't share any progress with you on that today. But I will share my Albini. So while I'm talking, I will move things around. It's really funny because I've actually found the last couple of weeks that I have really enjoyed sitting at my wheel and working at my wheel and spinning. And I kind of went through a period where I was really feeling a bit overwhelmed by all of my spinning, and I wasn't getting anything done. So I was sitting down to spin, and I was working on my Cormo, and like this was all I'd done. And it was like, oh, that's all I've done, and I've sat here for how long? And it just feels like you just deflate, right? And so then I just started thinking, you know what? I sat down, I got 20 minutes, and I got all of this done, and just trying to change the way I'm talking, and also not judging myself for what I have or haven't done, and instead trying to stop at, I got to spin for 20 minutes, and kind of leaving the rest of it alone, and just being really mindful that I got that time to spend doing that. I'm actually, I decided a week or two ago that I was going to start working. Has anybody heard of, is it Judd Brewer? He was on the Rich Roll podcast a while ago, and he does a lot of work around mindfulness training and creating new habits. So I've actually been following some of his stuff. When you go to his website, there's a whole bunch of different courses that you can take to increase your mindfulness in your day-to-day life. And I've been doing that. So the app actually tags you to do certain things throughout the day and to do these check-ins with yourself. So just in the moment, how are you feeling right now? And you just pick one, and then it gives you a 2 or 3 second literally exercise to do. So it might be like, you feel content. So you click content, and then you say next, and then it'll say, take a moment to breathe in and raise your arms, and breathe out and lower your arms. And then go on with your day. That's it. That's all it asks you to do. And so you do that 2 or 3 times a day. So if you choose that you're in this moment right now, you're feeling joyful, it'll give you something else to do. And if you're in this moment feeling angry, it'll give you something else to do. And then you can skip it. Like if you don't have time and you're just wanting to document how you're feeling in this moment, you just click out. I'm feeling angry, out. Anyways, it's been really interesting because the idea is to notice your thoughts and feelings without judgment. And it's something I've been working on for a really super long time, but I felt like to take it to the next level that I needed something that would sort of hold my hand a little bit. It's been awesome. So I've been doing it now for 10 days. So I will keep you posted. I have heard of knitting inside out to avoid purling, Charlotte. I just haven't kind of gone there and explored that a bit more. So I should. Even without a bad wrist, I am so not purling an entire sweater. That's so true, Judy. Yeah, I don't mind purling. I actually find it really fast. For me, it's faster than knitting, but I do find that I get a bit bogged down with it because of my wrist. So I bet the designer has gotten emails from people asking them to modify it the way you have. I bet actually, Rebecca, because so many people don't want to seam. And I didn't mind seaming. I have no problem seaming. And actually, Katrina just finished a seamed sweater that was absolutely beautiful. The problem is the purling and doing an entire back panel that has no patterning to break that up. So you're just knit, purl, there's no way. So what is the app called? There's a whole bunch, Sarah, so I will link his website for you. There's ones for stopping smoking. There's ones for helping with emotional eating. There's ones for mindfulness throughout your day. So I'll link it in the Slack channel and tag you. His website, I think it's Judd. I should know this. I'll Dr. Judd, drjudd.com. He does a lot of stuff with smoking cessation, actually, which isn't an issue for me, but I know for many people it is, and habit breaking. And it's just increasing your mindfulness. So the goal is not to stop smoking or not to eat. That's not, so a lot of his stuff is just increasing mindfulness around that behavior. So, which I find really interesting, because if you're not trying to actively break the habit and you're trying to just notice the habit, it completely changes the internal script, you know, what you're telling yourself and what you're doing in that moment. And then the mindfulness is just learning to be more aware of ourselves and what's going on around us and the things that we do in our day-to-day life. Really cool. Let's talk about my Albini. So I won't pull this too close. She does like to be front and center, my Diana, but we'll just hold her a little bit further back. So I have started the sleeves. I'm knitting this Albini by Orlane Sucche on 3.5 millimeter needles, and I haven't done the collar yet. I didn't have my 3 millimeter needles with me. I wanted to do the collar before I did the sleeves, but I didn't have the right needle size, so I've left that for now. But I did get the pockets finished. If you notice, my big stitch holders are gone. So I knit my pockets. I just need to seam them down. So I'm going to give them a light steam, and just to make them flat and to bring them to shape and to make the seaming easier, more basically. And then I will seam those down, get those done, and then I can pick up here, pick up the stitches along the pocket to do the braid, and then there's 1 inch of 1x1 ribbing to finish off the pocket. So I just need to do that, and then you sew that down as well. So then the pockets will be finished. And I've got some buttons that I'm going to try on it that I don't know if they'll work or not. I'm hoping that they do, but they may not. So I'll sew those on and give those a shot and see if they suit the cardigan. I had bought a whole bunch of owl buttons. They're all different. I have 7 of them, but they're all different, and I don't know if they'll suit the cardigan or not. So I am going to sew a few of them on and just see if they suit it or not. And if not, I'll go to plan B, which there isn't a plan B right now, but I'll find some buttons somehow. And then I'll finish off the sleeves and Bob's your uncle. I do have some more of this fiber that I need to get spun. I don't think that the current skein that I have is enough to do both sleeves and the collar and the the pocket ribbing. So I do need to get spinning. That was part of the reason for freeing up my Lendrum, was to finish off that Karma, the first skein of the Karma, and then I'll get back to spinning the Shetland. And actually, I don't think, maybe you guys can remind me, I don't think that I have shown any video of me actually spinning the Shetland. So if that would be helpful and you guys would enjoy seeing that, we can do that for next show, for next week. And next week is Halloween. We get to actually record a show on Halloween, which will be super fun. So there's that. So that's my Albini. If anybody has any questions about that before I push her back and out of the spotlight, poor Diana, she has to go into the shadows again. I will push her out of the way and we will talk about my Cormo really quickly. Do you ever steek? I noticed that you didn't do a stocking stitch back panel yet. Have knitted a stocking stitch cardigan. That's a really good question, Eve. I haven't steeked. Okay, this is why I haven't steeked. It is completely because of superstition, which I don't really believe in, but it's superstition that I need to get over. Don't get me wrong. I need to get over it. The only garment that I have steeked was the Alberta vest, which was put out in, I think it was in Wild Fibers in 2007, 2008. And it was a vest by Jared Flood. It was when he was still blogging at Brooklyn Tweed. And I think it was even when it was still brooklyntweed.blogspot.com. Like it was way before the modern Brooklyn Tweed that we all know. It was when Jared was still doing his MFA. And I talk about him like he's a friend. But I think many of us have followed his work for so long that I think many of us feel like we kind of know what he's done over the years. And I have so much respect for him and his design aesthetic. So the Alberta vest is steeked. You steek the neck and you steek the shoulders, the armholes, and it's a vest, and it was a man's vest. I did it in Noro, and I made it for my dad, and he never wore it. So I've never steeked anything ever since because I couldn't rip it out. Isn't that crazy? And I don't blame my dad at all. It wasn't something that he probably would have worn. He wasn't kind of a sweater vest kind of guy. I just really wanted to make the sweater and make the vest. I should have made it for myself and just downsized it. I didn't really think about it at the time. I just wanted to do something for my dad. And I've never steeked anything since. So that's why I don't steek. And it's only because I just kind of had that experience. It wasn't the steeking. It was just that he never wore it and I couldn't rip it out. So there you go. Are you going to dress up for Halloween? I don't know. The stream is so early in the morning. We'll see. I kind of don't want to answer that, so I'm not going to answer it. I'm pleading the fifth. Of all of the holidays, Halloween is actually my least favorite. And the reason is because I worked in emergency all those years, nights. And I worked emerge on Halloween and on New Year's Eve. New Year's Eve is the other one that I don't like. I actually would take Halloween over New Year's Eve because New Year's Eve is a very adult-centric holiday. And we always got really, really, really bad accidents on New Year's Eve night, stuff that was completely preventable because people were partying too hard. Halloween, we got the burns and the sort of the injuries, and I never liked it. So I've never been a big fan of New Year's Eve or of Halloween. But I'm pleading the fifth on this one because the fact that the live stream falls on Halloween, it's pretty cool. So yeah, I think anybody who works front line in emergency, paramedics, ICU, OR, PACU, so PACU, that's the post-anesthetic care unit, or PAR, post-anesthetic recovery. Anybody who works kind of in those areas that are working on those nights, I think many of us feel the same way, and they're just not our favorite nights because we've worked through it. And we see the children that come in with the extensive burns because the parents were negligent and didn't do their due diligence with fireworks and firecrackers and stuff. So that's my soapbox. I'm done now. So Cormo, My Cormo spin is actually going really well. And I've been spinning this continuous short backward actually. I usually spin stuff continuous backward, and I've actually been doing this short backward. So this has very much been a labor of love, and I'm just gonna switch the cameras. This has actually been a bit of a labor of love because it's been, it's so springy and sticky in the sense that it's fine, and the crimp structure, it wants to stick together. So as I'm drafting back and pulling back, it wants to kind of all come together. And so I've been spinning this short backward. So here I'm kind of in a continuous backward, but then you'll notice as the video goes on that I default to a short backward. And we talked about this extensively yesterday in the wool circle. So if you want to talk about it in more detail, please check out episode 28. And this is the bobbin that I've spun so far. I have to keep taking it off of my wheel because I keep using my Magic Craft for plying. So that is sort of how it's going. I'm really enjoying it. It's a little bit neppy, a little bit bumpy, but I think it's actually going to make a really, really nice 2-ply or a really beautiful 3-ply. And those neps will kind of work their way out over time with a garment. I am thinking about doing a sweater with this and 3-plying it and really giving it a hefty, hefty twist angle. Really cramming that twist in there because I'm putting a lot of twist into the singles, and the ply back chest is quite firm. And because this is a fine wool, it can really take that twist. The crimp structure on this was unbelievable. I have some photos of the original locks, and that was part of our 51 yarn study, and I will share that with you as I get near the end of spinning this. So really fun. If you guys have any questions, you can pop that in here. Oh, that's interesting, Dorothy, that you would say that. It's like 4th of July here in the US. Yeah, because Canada Day, which is July 1st, is not as big as New Year's Eve and Halloween is here, which is really too bad. Halloween is just my favorite holiday of all time. I feel like it's the only true community holiday that we have in North America. That's a really good comment, Kelly. Yeah, I think you're right. It'll be really different this year. So let's go to some community participation. I love doing community participation and sharing with you guys what our community is working on. So for October, tell us about your spinning plans for the rest of the year, and what are you looking forward to learning, exploring, and making. And it might be just quite a few people have commented that they're just trying to finish up stuff that they started earlier in the year, and that's totally fine. So you can comment in the episode thread on Ravelry. I will link that for you in the show, in the live chat, or you can comment here on YouTube, and I will go through all of the comments from October's episodes of the comments that you guys have left below here on YouTube for those people who are not on Ravelry, and I will tally them all up, and we'll have a giveaway the first week of November. I'm actually thinking I might do another Halloween bat, which I had done a few years ago, I think in 2017, and I knit up a Halloween toque that I wear this week during sort of this time of year. I'll see if I can link it in the live chat for those who haven't seen that toque. I was actually wearing it yesterday on our walk. I love it so much, and there's a really, really fun, creepy video that goes with it if you guys want to check that out. I'll put it in the show notes of me actually making the bat. So for our 51 yarns, group A is working on cotton, bast fibers, and pep fibers right now. So this is actually Megan's project that she's working on. And so for the cotton, which just scrolled by, and now we're on to the flax linen, so don't look at this just yet. For the cotton, this was my first time spinning cotton. It was hard. I don't usually have a problem with short staple, just spun a bunch of yak and cashmere, but for some reason I really, really struggled with cotton. I wonder if it is because it is not as slippery as those other fibers. I spun from Sliver and also hand carded some poonies. I spun long draw and supported long draw and did a little double drafting. So double drafting is where you draw out, and as the twist runs up, you notice that there's a slightly thicker area, and you go back and untwist and draft it apart and then continue on. So you're double drafting. I got enough twist in, but I could not get a consistent yarn. It is all lumpy, bumpy, and thick and thin. The best way I found for me to spin was long forward, quote unquote, draw, where I hold the fiber in the back hand a long ways away from the wheel and pull the fiber forwards toward the wheel. I don't love knitting with 100% cotton, so not sure this will be my go-to fiber, but I would need a lot more practice to spin something consistent, but it was interesting to try anyways. So for the bath, she was really proud of this yarn. This is a traditional linen spun from Strict. I spun it from a towel on my lap and had a little bowl of water next to me to wet my fingers, and then boiled it at the end. It is beautiful. It really softened up in the end boil, and it is lovely and soft. I will definitely spin more for a project in the future. Now finally, for her pet yarn, she did Angora. It's so incredibly soft. I know that Angora has a halo and can pill out quite badly, so I wanted to spin this very high twist. I only made a small sample because I think I will blend this fiber with something else. Even with all that twist, it is incredibly soft. I watched a demo of somebody combing their rabbit at the Douse Wool Festival before I was a spinner at the, which was fun. I then bought my very first hand spun yarn from her, which is 100% Angora. She also bought some buffalo yarn at a fair, and then she knit these gloves, which are pictured after the linen. So they'll come up in a minute. I also, as you can see, the Angora made a crazy halo. However, when you see how that halo came out on the inside, which makes a wonderful matty layer of fluffy warmness, you forgive what it looks like on the outside. That's awesome. That's the Angora. And then these are the gloves that Megan knit. Beautiful gloves. And I love that. I love how she describes the inside of the gloves as a wonderful matty layer of fluffy warmness. So for Rebecca's 51 yarns, this is Rebby J, who's in the chat right now as well. I haven't seen Megan in here today. I think she's not here today, so she'll catch up later, but Rebecca's in the chat today. So this was her cotton. After trying many drafts on my cotton top from Vegan Yarns, I ended up most happily doing a short continuous backward draft. So short back draft. So that's where you go back and forward, back and forward, back and forward across the top. I held a wide chunk of top at a bit of an angle using very low tension, and that seemed to allow the singles to pick up just a few neighboring threads at a happy rate. The happy place for me was right in between short and long draw, which is what short continuous backward seems like to me. I posted about this spin. She posted about this spin on her blog, which I have linked in the show notes. And there you can see a picture of her drafting. Her final yarn wasn't super even, but pretty good, all things considered. She spun it 20-1 and it came out feeling very softly spun. She did put in as much twist as she felt she could without the singles pigtailing, and put in what she thought was plenty of ply twist. She'd love this yarn in an undershirt fabric, either knit or woven. For her pet fiber, you can see there's a dog scrolling through here. I got my fiber from my friend's dog, a white husky mutt who I pet sat for a week this summer. He's a dear. He was shedding a ton at the time, and his owner also gave me the stuff they've been collecting as they brushed him. Isn't he beautiful? It was gross at first, but I washed it just like I would wash raw wool, and it came out odorless. I spun it from the cloud. It was surprisingly easy and fun, at least after all of the cotton and silk. It did not feel soft in the skein, but it knit up a little softer. So that is Rebecca's stuff. Thank you so much, all of you, for sharing your 51 yarns. We are almost done. Group A is almost finished their 51 yarns, if you can believe it. So they are actually finishing at the end of December. And starting in January, the teaching content will pivot from 51 yarns to being specific to the overarching theme of that month. So that means that that the teaching content for other than group B, so group B, you guys will continue in your group B study for the 51 yarns, but for everybody else, the teaching content will pivot to the theme that is overarching the teaching content, which is for all patrons $3 and higher. The Thoughtful Spinner and the How I Spin. Everything will be an overarching theme each month, and each of the 3 downloads will sort of focus on a different aspect of that thing, so which will be really fun. We are doing our tin can knits along in the group, so this is just an opportunity to look at the tin can knits patterns and do some stuff. We're all kind of working on our stuff. I didn't talk about my love note this week. I'm still not sure what I'm going to do with that sweater, so more on that next week, maybe. This is Greta's sweater that she did using this Strange Brew. So she finished her Christmas sweater for her sister-in-law and her nephews using the Strange Brew recipe and the graphics from the Sun Dotier pullover. So she's used the Sun Dotier in the yoke, because this, I think that sweater, it's all over patterning. So Greta's made that, or maybe it's just the yoke. Anyways, she took the yoke of the design and she superimposed it onto the charts for Strange Brew, which I think is brilliant. And that is a pattern by Diana Walla, W-A-L-L-A. Loved the fit on them. I did use commercial yarn, and I have to say, Greta, your sister-in-law is absolutely beautiful, and that sweater on her is incredible. Incroyable. Beautiful. So really well done. I wanted to share that with you guys. I was excited to share that. So Greta, beautiful work. And I love the gold with that teal blue. It is beautiful. So breed and color studies. So we're going to be finishing up this particular study on Charolais at the end of December, and then we'll be pivoting into our new study in January, which I'm so excited about. You guys have no idea. I loved this study more than I thought that I would, and the next study, Katrina's knocking it out of the park, let's just say. So breed and color study, this is from Tracy. So Tracy is super excited about her finished yarns. She spun this long draw, one color after another, then chain plied them all together into one skein, and then she split them up by color to create through all of her separate colors. So the reason that she did this is because she was intending to spin a Shetland Spindrift knockoff, so sort of that knockoff type yarn, which this fiber, the Charolais, is a great substitute for that, to do some stranded color work, and she felt really proud of herself for actually making the yarn she wanted. Yes, Tracy, absolutely. Beautiful job. It's higher twist single and lower twist ply, and she's casting on some fingerless mitts. So she actually shared with us in the Queries and Explorations the fingerless mitts that she's making. They are amazing. So I'm excited to share those with you when she posts finished photos of them, because she did a beautiful, beautiful job. It's true, Kelly. Strange Brew is just the best. You can do so much with it. Absolutely. Absolutely. So, oh, bye, Dana. It was so good to have you here. Yeah, so beautiful. And everybody is complimenting Greta on the colors that she used in that sweater. Yeah, just amazing. So that is everything for today. I can't believe that we have blasted through. I just want to say thank you so much to everybody for being here this week. Thank you for your enthusiasm and for all of the chat in the live chat with all of our patrons. Thank you for being here this week. I really appreciate your time. Last week's Q&A, it is, Eve, I posted actually earlier this week. So the latest Q&A session is actually posted already. I don't think I did a post on Patreon. I think I just added it to the playlist on YouTube that's unlisted. So I hope you guys have a wonderful week. I have lots of tin can knits along projects to share from the community with you next week. So I'm excited to do that as well, to share with you where people are at. And I will share my progress on my love note next week. I'm just really torn about whether or not I want to rip it out or not, and whether I want to finish it or not. So what I think I might do is rip out the hem, add the extra ribbing that I was going to add, and then I'll try it on again and see what I think. It might be one of those things that is one of those sweaters that I finish and I pass along. Maybe my sister-in-law would want it. It's definitely her style. And I might try styling it with a few different things and see what I think. So I will share it with you guys next week if I get that done. And I hope you guys have a wonderful week. Have a wonderful, safe Halloween. If you're not able to tune into the live stream the next weekend, if the time conflicts with you doing stuff of your own, I hope you guys are safe, and I will see you guys on the flip side, I guess. Have a wonderful week, guys. Bye.